The Point of View is sponsored by Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it.
Welcome to The Point of View. We have a special show for you tonight. This is your favorite current affairs show on television here in Ghana on The Point of View. We usually will bring you guests, grill them on many issues. But tonight we are doing an editorial, the second in the same week. We're trying to give you a sense of the issue of judgment debts. And we're going to give you a breakdown of how much Ghana has incurred in the past 2 decades as far as judgment debts are concerned. We'll show you how much we've paid by way of judgment debts. We'll tell you which political parties incurred which or paid what. We'll also tell you about some new judgment debts coming in, all by way of information. And of course, this program is live and interactive. If you're watching on any of the social media platforms, please like the video and share. If you want to contribute to the show, it's live. Send us your thoughts on the WhatsApp number on the screen. I'll be right back with how we'll be proceeding. We're doing a touchscreen tonight, walking you through some very troubling numbers for Ghana. But we'll end with some recommendations on how to prevent the recurrence of what has become a systemic blot on Ghana's conscience. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Point of View. So the Center for Social Justice put together a fantastic 53-page document on judgment debts incurred in Ghana over the past 20 years. And they show us that we've paid in excess almost 2 billion cedis in judgment debts using 2019 figures. We'll walk you through that presentation. We'll discuss some of the specific cases. There's a very interesting case we'll be talking about where we acquired a piece of land for 20 Ghana cedis. Guess how much we paid for it over 30 years later, to blow your mind. We'll do all of that and compare the amount we spent on judgment debts to the amount of money we borrowed, to our expenditure on health. These are mind-boggling numbers. And every now and again, we need to reflect on some of the systemic ills with our governance. But I'm going to start with a couple of quick videos because 3 weeks ago, I had a chat with the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. This was when the latest 170 million judgment debt, which was occurred because or incurred over the cancellation of a contract with a company that wanted to supply us with power. Well, I asked him about how we're dealing with judgment debts, and he also revealed that there were a few other ones he was dealing with. Here's a quick flavor of that chat with Mr. Dami. When I come back, I'll take you to the screen and walk you through some of the highlights of this very troubling report.
Informed him of the situation. The president concerned about it. In fact, we all found it a little bit curious because in that communication by Omnia strategy was an indication that they could settle the matter for us if we desired. So really, instead of filing the challenge, they had offered opportunity of settlement. Any reasonable person would think that indeed that is actually why Omnia strategy then even represented that they could file the matter. They just wanted to get a foot in the proceedings. I wouldn't want to impute such motives to them. They are a reputable law firm in Britain, headed by a person of immense stature in Britain, Sherry Blair, wife of former Prime Minister Tony Blair, and she on her own, not just on account of her husband's stature, on her own, is a top barrister in her own right. So I wouldn't want to impute any motive at all to her. So we found it a little bit curious, and we indicated that, well, so we took the view that if indeed Omnia had assessed the matter as worthy of a challenge, then perhaps we could get a second opinion. So we engaged a law firm of Watera Theatre to also attempt a challenge. And they went to say, well, it's possible. It's what the only issue at that time was to get an extension of time within which to bring a challenge.
And they failed.
Which is hold on, I'm coming. So even on your strategy, what they got was also the extension of time. But at that time, there had not been such application.
Good.
So once was really given as a matter of course. So the reasons for the extension of time were what the lawyers then had to come up with. And the lawyers said, well, they took the view that even the late appointment of the attorney general, the COVID-19 and all, taking account of certain circumstances, bureaucracy and all. So those were those were things in their own judgment. That was the judgment of the foreign law firm, and they took the view. And if indeed I'm a practicing lawyer in Ghana, not a practicing lawyer in the UK, if a practicing lawyer, again under a reputable, very big public international law firm, Votera Theatre, a very Robert Votera, also a long established QC with a big practice around the world.
So I'm just on clarify. So you're saying that for you,
happens.
A day into your coming into office, you meet the president, you try this last minute attempt to get an extension, to think through, to see if it's possible to go and make a representation. That fails. And your point is that that being presented as you sleeping on the job is unfair.
Completely mischievous, and I'm sure deliberately so.
You are clearly interested in saving the state money. The Galamsey fight is going on, and there have been comments made about burning excavators. I'm sure you've spoken to this before, but let me just ask you. There appears to be an eagerness to stop Galamsey so much that we risk breaking the law to enforce this particular fight. So the idea of saying, go to court if you feel your excavator is being burnt illegally. Are you sure that in 3-4 years we'll not be sitting here talking about judgment debts that we have incurred as a state, because the law is quite clear on what to do with a confiscated excavator? Burning is not one of them.
Well, even before the burning orders, if I may say so, were issued, apparently there had been some judgment that granted against the government of Ghana in that regard. Yes, I got to know from Randy Abbey on the program on Joy FM that there had been some award last year. And the following Monday, I set out to investigate, and indeed I found that there had been a judgment debt of about $50 million granted. And that was in, I think, July or June last year, in respect of some activities from the inter-ministerial committee. At that time, there was no burning at all. So really, I think that judgment debts, of course, really sometimes becomes unavoidable. But even in respect of that particular judgment debt, even though the time for an appeal has elapsed, I really intend challenging it on procedural grounds. And I think that the procedural grounds really will not be caught by any flash of time and all. And I believe that the media ought to encourage me in that regard. After all, it's the same public purse that we are seeking to save. And if that effort to challenge the judgment given by the High Court in Kumasi last year, that I became aware of only when I became attorney general, fails, I do not think that the state, the media.
So this was a few weeks ago in his office. I was speaking to Godfrey Dame, and this was in relation to the GPGC $170 million. In fact, the figure has been disputed. It was originally $137 million. People are saying that when you add all the interest, it's $170 million. Then he also revealed on that interview that we had incurred another $15 million judgment debt because a mining company had taken us to court for illegally destroying their excavators and all of that. Now, we'll tell you about that later. When I come back, I'm going to take you to the screen because this report forms the basis of a lot of what I'm going to do. So a very interesting work was done by the Center for Social Justice, led by Dr. Soji Tete. And essentially, they showed that in the past 2 decades, we've incurred almost 2 billion cedis of payments. Now, that suggests that the amount we've been slapped with may be more, but this is just payments, almost 2 billion cedis. What did we do wrong? What cases led to this? And I'll explain why this is such a systemic problem and what we have to do. We'll be right back.
This morning, Nothing wakes me up better than a cup of cowbell coffee. Delicious coffee aroma.
How can you forget your lines again?
I'm sorry, sir, just that it tastes really good.
Cowbell Coffee!
Enjoy the delicious creamy coffee taste of 3-in-1 Cowbell Coffee.
It's a beautiful day.
Waiting.
Cowbell Coffee! Taste it, love it.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Ekia Anderson. I'm a census official from Ghana Statistical Service, and I'm here to count you and your household members for the 2021 Population and Housing Census.
Hey, you people, you come to count us all the time, yet we get nothing out of it. Do I even have the time?
Daddy, please check your ID card and letter in. We must be counted. It's very important. You see, the data they collect is for various purposes. To know the total number of people in the country, the characteristics, housing conditions and stuff, to inform policy. The total in schools.
The 2021 Population and Housing Census will leave no one behind. The census night is 27th June. Counting of all persons who spend the census night in Ghana will be conducted from that night to 11th July. Before then, all structures will be assigned unique numbers and basic information collected on them and their occupants from 13th to 25th June. The 2021 Population and Housing Census. You count, get counted.
It's a good day to meet every challenge. It's a good day to want more out of life. It's a good day to wish for it, work for it, go get it. Familiar taste, a delicious indulgent with a flavor you just can't hide. Refreshing energy, gives so much for so little. For a strong performance, you've come to the right place. Good Day Energy Drink. Why wait a minute to enjoy a good day when every second counts? Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going.
Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're walking through judgment debts. This is the report we're using. A brilliant job done by a group called the Center for Social Justice. It was a 20-year review of judgment debt payments in Ghana. A few caveats. They used mostly the work of the sole commissioner, which was done in 2012, 2013. But there's still additional files we added. But this was the work they did. The first thing they did, which I thought was really interesting, was they defined what a judgment debt was. And I thought the sole commissioner's work was quite seminal, that a debt for the payment of which a judgment has been given, and the judgment arises on account of a decision by a court or an authoritative pronouncement of an umpire. So that could be an arbitration, or, yeah, that's what you have there, through the mediation process as well, and negotiated settlement. Now, the first issue here is that there are three main causes of judgment debts for Ghana. Now, alleged contract breaches by the government of Ghana and its agencies was huge, right? So we're talking about not just the government at the top, ministries, but we're talking departments, we're talking agencies, we're talking metropolitan, municipal. In fact, there's one judgment debt that a university incurred for us, and I'll come to that. University of Ghana incurred a judgment debt for demolishing somebody's house, right? So that's the first group, contractual breaches. Then there are issues to do with failure to promptly pay compensation for compulsory land acquisition. Again, there are some very troubling instances there. And then judgment debts arising from alleged tortious statutory breaches. Okay, now, if you look at the breakdown of those judgment debts, the issue of contract breaches by government is in a comfortable lead. In fact, let me depict it in a way that's even easier. So you see, 73% of the judgment debts within the 20-year period were for contract breaches. Then, government acquires the land compulsorily, but doesn't make payment on time. The interest accrues on the payment, That's 23%. So these statutory breaches are very, very small. Now let's take a closer look at these numbers. So you can break this down into the first decade and the second decade. In the first decade, most of the judgment debts were for government contract breaches. And the figure wasn't that big, right? Around 9.9 million cedis. But look at how it jumps in the second decade, between 2010 to 2019. Huge jump. In fact, there's a better depiction of that here, where you're going to see the fantastic. Look at the first decade. When it comes to contract breaches, first decade is 257 million Ghana cedis, 1.1 billion between the second decade. Compulsion and acquisition. So this is a fourfold increase between the time Kufuor was president and the time Mills took over Mahama Nanado. 2000, 2009, 258 for contract breaches. It increases fourfold in the next decade. Land acquisition. Government acquires your land. They are supposed to make a payment. They delay. Eventually, you go to court to assert your rights. You win. Look at where we were. In the first decade of this democracy, 9.92 million Ghana cedis. Look at what happened the next decade. Unbelievable. In the issue of statutory breaches as well, there was nothing in the first decade. So the cumulative effect of this is the numbers you are seeing at the bottom. So this is a very serious situation. It appears government's willful breach of contracts. And in fact, the report places the blame squarely on what it calls negligence, blatant disregard for public procurement laws, illegal abrogation of contracts, corrupt activities by public officials in their line of duty, all of which have resulted in these judgment debts. So this is a very serious situation. Now let's try and understand what is actually going on with judgment debts. And I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, which party should we blame? Ghanaians are interested in that. Well, there is a political coloration. The first thing to note is that judgment debts have occurred under every government since the time we started doing the calculation, at least since the report was done from the year 2000. Although there's a very telltale trend you will see. When there's a change in government, you tend to see a lot of judgment debts being paid, partly because of contractual breaches. And if you look at the GPGC case example, so a government does something and, well, they are arguing with somebody, a new government comes in, for whatever reason, the new government is inclined to pay. Or sometimes a new government comes in, cancels a contract the previous government does, and then you have it. So if you look at it, 2001, between 2000 and 2001, look in the far right column, 80.3 million cedis in judgment debts, right, for the year 2000. Well, 2001, it jumps to 142. So clearly, when President Kufuor took over, I'm sure, and there are specific instances where this happened. Some people went to him with cases, they paid, right? Then it slows down, 1.7, 0.1. Then 2005, this is the second term of the same government. It jumps from 0.1 to 34. So that's the first thing we observe, that the change in government appears to give impetus for payment of judgment debt. The second thing we notice is that the worst period for us for paying judgment debt was between 2010 and 2012, which led to the whole Betty Mode resignation or reassignment to from Attorney General to Education Ministry, the entrance of Martin Amidu, the gargantuan crimes, and all of those things. Now, this is why in 2012, 2013, the sole commissioner's work became important. So you notice, first change in government, 80 million to 140. Then 2005, it jumps again, 0.1 to 34.2. This is not a change in government. This is just a new government, same president. But look at it, 2010, and I'm guessing this accounts for 2009 as well, from 10 million to almost a billion. Look at this as well. So this was a really dark period for Ghana, after which, because of the sole commissioner's work, things slowed down. Then in 2015, it picked up again. Now, first point is that this calculation is monies paid. monies actually paid, not just decisions. Because you can have a decision against 170 million, depending on your negotiation, you can reduce it, or you can decide to pay in installments or whatever. So these are monies paid. Now the interesting thing is that this column, the MPP government, we haven't included how much they paid yet, and I'll tell you why shortly. Because when this work was done, the information about how much had actually been paid was incomplete. So you have a total of 1.8 billion Ghana cedis paid over the 20 years. Now I'm going to show you a story. Ken Ofori-Atta spoke to the media. He spoke to Parliament. All right. Now, in 2019, he revealed that we had actually paid over 280 million Ghana cedis in judgment debts. Okay. So CPJ has not included this in their calculation. Now the story says the government of Ghana has paid over 283 million cedis in judgment debt since January 2017. Right? This is according to an answer cited in the order paper of Parliament from the Finance Minister in response to a question filed by MP for Mion, Abdulaziz Mohammed. Briefing the House on the development, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta said, government intends to renegotiate these debts to protect the public purse. Government continues to pay several millions of cedis in judgment debt to individuals and companies for contracts. In January 2017, the outstanding judgment debt came to meet totals over 282 million cedis. The government's approach is to renegotiate these judgment debts and to ensure that we make as much savings as possible and continue to protect the public purse. The House scheduled the Finance Minister to tell the nation how much the government paid in judgment debts from January to the time the story was written, which was late 2019. And then the breakdown is given. The big one is the Woyome one. Now, if you come back to my screen here, we have not included that 283 million in these calculations. So, as of the time this calculation was done, in 2017, we had paid only 1.5 million, 2018, 9.2, 2019, 0.9. But from what the Finance Minister has told us, if you add that, our total judgment debt payment jumps from 1.8 billion to 2.1 billion Ghana cedis. So this is very serious, right? This is very big. Now, let's get into more details here. The amount of judgment debt we've paid, if you start comparing them to different things we do. So, for example, compare the judgment debt to multilateral loans we've taken in 2019. Judgment debt is in a comfortable lead. In fact, it's 135% of all your multilateral loans for the year 2019. Right? That's serious. Compare them to grants from other governments. Comfortable lead. 112% of grants. Okay? It's just crazy. The judgment debts have milked the state. They've impoverished us. And it appears it's become a very lucrative way of some people making money. Now, what is troubling about all of this is that there doesn't seem to be retribution for this. And we'll talk about that when we come back. But these are some very troubling comparisons. If you compare the judgment debts to some of the things we do. Now, I'm going to walk you through some of the very, very serious, specific instances which have led us to the situation we're in. But before I do that, I just wanted to give you a more beautiful pictorial representation of what we've done. So look at this, right? It just keeps ballooning. The figures keep going up. If I add the latest figure the Finance Minister has said, we notice we do it in blues and greens. So the blues are for MPP, the greens are for NDC. Now, look at it. Tiny, it keeps going. But now, when you add the 283 million that was paid in 2019, then that also is a big blue box you can put somewhere, a big blue square you can put here. So it's very clear, let's go back to this, it's very clear that NDC has paid more in judgment than MPP. That's very clear from this and the previous graph. But if we add the 283 million, the MPP own starts rising as well. Later on, I'll show you that just 3 judgment debts we've incurred in 2021 alone. 3 judgment debts we've incurred in 2021 alone is about 75% of all that we've paid here. I'm telling you, I'm going to show you that. It will shock you. I'm telling you. Just 3. Right? Because all of this that I've shown you is taking you to, just go back here. How much? It's taking you to 2 billion. 1.8 billion plus 283. So that's 2 billion cedis. That's a lot of money, right? 2 billion cedis is serious, okay? But these are monies paid. 2 billion cedis. Let's do a little mathematics here. 2 billion cedis. Okay. Now come here. Take the 3 judgment debts that are potentially going to be paid. These haven't been paid yet. GPGC, $170 million. Multiply $170 million by 5.8. That's taking you to cedis. Now, a mining company, minister told me, $15 million. Assuming we have to pay. Then there's a new one, West Africa Gas Limited. This story broke a couple of days ago on 3 News. Maybe let me read the story and then come back to the calculation. Because essentially, it came in the week of the GPGC story. And the story is essentially saying that a West Africa gas company took Ghana to some sort of arbitration and lost. And Ghana lost. So Ghana to pay another 70 million in judgment to West African Gas Limited. The details are given there. Now, if this is correct, it means that if you multiply 255 by the exchange rate, you are around 1.5 billion cedis, right? 1.5 billion cedis. Now, if you take that 1.5 billion cedis, that if we are to pay, if we are not to challenge it, then that's very close to this figure already, right? And I'm talking about, this is a 20-year figure, right? 1.8 billion, I add the 283 we've paid, that's 2.1 billion cedis. If I take just the 3 GPGC, the 15 billion for the mining company, and then the West Africa Gas Company, if the payments are to be made, don't forget, the fact that you've been slapped with the judgment debt does not mean you are necessarily going to pay the same amount. Negotiations are done. So we are hoping that the $70 million one is not confirmed. We are hoping that for some reason we can reduce the amount we pay for the other 2. But in the worst case scenario, if all the 3, if the 3 parties, if the aggrieved parties push for us to pay, then we've incurred within this period almost 70% of what we incurred in the 20 years. Let that sink in. It's very serious, right? Because in 20 years, here you have 1.8 billion plus your 280 million, 2.1 billion cedis, right? But in just 3 cases, and I need to stress this again, just 3 cases, all right? This one, the AG disputes the 170, saying he thinks it's around 139, 140. No problem. This one, he revealed it on my show. 15 million. Again, he's going to challenge that. We need to make that point. He says he's going to challenge it. Let's hope he wins. If he challenges and he wins, this is off. Because if you multiply this by 5 points, it's a lot of money. Let's hope this also doesn't go to the conclusion that the story is pointing to. Right? Attorney General has declared his readiness to challenge the 50 million judgment debt awarded against Ghana in its fight against illegal mining. Although the minister failed to extensively explain what led to the new judgment debt, he clarified that it came about during the work of the now defunct IMSIM, which the president set up in the previous fight. He was speaking on the point of view. He explained that although the time frame for appealing against the judgment debt had elapsed, he still intends to challenge on procedural grounds. His comments come on the back of the GPGC one, which we discussed, the 170 million. This is Imperial Marine. So this is serious, right? In just 1 year. But we need to also now understand the specific things that happened that led to the 1.8 billion. And I think that's where it gets really, really serious. Okay, I'll take a short break. When I come back, I'll walk you through some of the highlights of negligence. In fact, some of it is carelessness, recklessness. Some of it is also just the way government works, right? But some of the instances, a government has incurred a debt, they refuse to pay for 10 years, the interest multiplies, and we are supposed to pay. We'll walk you through some of the instances as depicted in the Sole Commissioner's report in this very brilliant work done by the Center for Social Justice. This is the point of view. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
the occasion. With ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello there. We know what matters today, don't we? Hurry up. Follow safety measures. Drive for hours. Grab a perfect spot. Park smoothly. And then visit another shop and scroll for the opportunities. Tap to pay. Enjoy that extra reward. Get 10% extra cashback when you pay with Visa. How you pay matters.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're working with a report beautifully put together by the Center for Social Justice, 20-year review of judgment debts in Ghana, and they've shown us that we've paid almost 2 billion cedis. In fact, it's 2.1 billion cedis in the past 20 years by way of judgment debts. Now, they've also shown that both NDC and NPP have incurred judgment debts, and the reasons they attribute include illegal abrogation of contracts, government failing to pay for land it acquired compulsorily, and other statutory breaches. And there are reasons that they outlined from the sole commissioner's work and the work they themselves did. They call it negligence. That's number one. Blatant disregard for public procurement laws. They also talk about illegal abrogation of contracts, corrupt activities by public officials in their line of duty, all of which have resulted in huge sums of money. If they compare the amount of judgment debts we've paid to, for example, our expenditure for health for a whole year is about 35%. That's a lot. The judgment debts we've paid could have, for the whole 2019, given us more than 100% of our international grants and loans we got. So there's a lot of issues with judgment debts, okay? And we've also shown you that there are 3 cases which, if we don't successfully, particularly the Galamsey mining one, if we don't successfully negotiate and appeal, we'll be paying in excess of at least another $200 million in judgment debts. But which are some of the instances? Let's walk through some of the cases. We have a whole montage of cases for you. Now, in terms of the breaches, there's one that the first one I'll talk about is the Rockshell International. Now, this is one of the oldest cases, right? So Rockshell International is a company that did some work for Ghana many years ago. This is 1983, right? Government of Ghana awarded Rockshell a contract to supply stones for the construction of the Keta Sea Defense Project. Can you imagine? As we speak, there's still tidal waves in Keta and all those places. 1983 December, Government of Ghana awards a contract to supply stones for the Sea Defense Project. Rockshell performed their obligations under the contract, and in January 1986, they issued a certificate for payment for what is equivalent of now Ghana cedi 55,000 cedis. 55,000 cedis, right? 55,000 Ghana cedis. Now, after several unsuccessful demand notices and follow-ups, the company instituted legal action against the state and obtained a favorable judgment in November 2006. Think about it. Contract signed 1983. Work finished 1986. Equivalent of 55,000 Ghana cedis was how much we were supposed to pay. 55,000 cedis. It was 553 million old Ghana, but 55,000 new Ghana. Right? After several unsuccessful demand notices and follow-ups, the company instituted legal action against the government. They obtained judgment 20 years later from 1986 to 2006. Now, an amount of $70 million was awarded by the court in favor of Rockshell International. We were supposed to pay them 55,000 cedis in 1986. 20 years later, they won a judgment for 70 million. The government could not settle indebtedness. Now, following a change in government in 2009, the new government was faced with the mounting case of outstanding judgment debts. The government decided to renegotiate with significant judgment creditors, one of which was Rockshell. So the team was led by Philip Addison, who was counsel for Rockshell, and then Attorney General at the time, Betty Modi-Drisu. They managed to beat down the thing from $70 million to $35 million. And they made the payments in 3 installments. 22nd June 2009, we paid $10 million. Then we paid $50 million March 2010, $5 million. So we signed a contract in 83. They did a job which they finished in 86. The amount we were supposed to pay was valued at 55,000 Ghana cedis in today's money. We paid them 35 million cedis after negotiation. And that was even from 70 million. So the team reduced it from 70 million to 35. And this is Rockshell. This is serious. Rockshell International. And as I speak to you, the Keta Sea Defense Project is, I don't know what is happening to it. So that was Rockshell. Now, the other one I want to talk about, this one is also interesting. This one, there's a family called the Carmichael family. And I think this one is very, very pathetic indeed. Because if you look at the amount involved and the amount we paid eventually, it is unconscionable. Honestly, it's unconscionable if you look at the amount we paid. So what happened? This is under land acquisition. Now, what happened? By executive instrument 21st February 1976, where were you at the time? The state acquired approximately 24,700 acres of land at Aveime Bato in the Volta region. All right? After all the ins and outs, the chiefs and the people involved requested for compensation of 330,000 old Ghana cedis. Do you know what that is in new Ghana cedis? 33 cedis. 33 cedis. This was to be paid to the clients. So the solicitors for the people, they are called Cora Chambers. They requested that we paid 33 Ghana cedis in 1978. They wrote to the then chief lands officer, requested for a payment of 330,000 old Ghana cedis, which is equivalent of 33 cedis, to be paid to the clients for land acquisition as a result of what the state lost. Now, there was no record that the chief lands officer responded to the solicitor's letter in 1978. However, there was evidence that the solicitor wrote again to the chief lands officer on 15 July 1981 asking for the payment. The chief land officer replied to the second letter dated 27 July 1981 to make an offer that was unconditionally accepted, that they will pay the 33 cedis. At the time, the value was 20 cedis or something. Yet no payment was made. Now, in 1993, the government did a revaluation of the property. Now, this revaluation showed an increase in the value of the structures from 200,000 cedis to 45 million old Ghana cedis. A revaluation was further done in the year 2000, leading to about 775,000. Now, the raging battle over the compensation took 30 years. During that period, several attempts were made to resolve the matter. Successive attorney generals were not left out in the negotiations. I'm talking about 1976 matter. In 2009 January, former President John Ajekum Kufuor, this is before he left office, by the way, because he was leaving January 7. He instructed, allegedly, from the sole commissioner's work, that the sum of $2.4 million be paid as compensation to the Carmichael family in respect of the Aveime livestock project. Right? There was another directive that we should pay $240,000 to the solicitors in charge of the negotiation. So in essence, we paid 2.6 million cedis for land which we acquired for 33 cedis. Think about it. We acquired the land for 33 Ghana cedis. We acquired the land for 33 Ghana cedis in 1976. In 1978, we agreed to pay them money for the land. We went back and forth from 1981 to 2009 and now paid them $2.6 million. 33 Ghana cedis, $2.6 million. I mean, and of course, the report did a very good job. They converted the 2.6 million to Ghana cedis and also used some indicators to convert it to 2019 Ghana cedis. But think about it. You acquire a land in 1976. You agree to make a payment by 1981. You don't make the payment. And 33 cedis becomes $2.6 million. I mean, crazy. There's another one which is also very pathetic. And all of this work was done by the sole commissioner. Okay. Now, the University of Ghana, and this one is called the Etundi case. Etundi case. And the University of Ghana essentially, and I'm going to just read the excerpt for you. The plaintiff said they were given no warning that their building was going to be demolished. Right? They said they had evidence that they owned some land and that they had acquired the land from the Nungua chief. They did a search at the Lands Commission. They thought they were in the right ownership of the land. But apparently the land belonged to another government agency. Cut a long story short, the University of Ghana demolished the structure that this Etundi, William Jackson Etundi, had put on the land. The property was valued at $288,488 US. So we paid that amount in 2018 to William Jackson Etundi for demolishing his property. And we paid that amount. That $288,000 can be equated to about 1.4 million Ghana cedis using 2019 money. Very, very serious indeed. There's another one. There are two involving the Ghana Post Company. And those are also very troubling indeed. Okay? So this one is quite interesting. Bank of Africa versus Ghana Post and Messrs. Brickhouse. This resulted in us paying over 215,000 Ghana cedis. Now, the contract itself involved only 45,000 cedis by way of loan, right? The Auditor General's report on public boards and corporations revealed that management of Ghana Post awarded a contract to this brick house company to renovate the Kaneshi Post Office at a cost of 125,000 cedis in March 2009. Now, aside from the fact that the company lacked the financial capability to execute the contract, there was also some pre-qualifications that they allegedly had to go through. Now, they then contracted a loan for 45,000 cedis from the then amalgamated bank to finance the project. Now, upon finishing the project, Ghana Post failed to pay the company the certificate amount of 95,000 cedis for work done. The bank filed a suit in court against the brick house company and Ghana Post for failing to pay the loan. Judgment was entered against Ghana Post to the sum of 169,000 Ghana cedis, constituting interest accrued on the 45,000 cedi loan. An additional 46,000 cedis was claimed by the company in that particular case. Now, the Auditor General recommended that the board and managing director of Ghana Post be held liable for the loss made and to refund 90,000. So, you take a loan of 45,000 cedis to do a project. Because of all the back and forth, you are not able to pay the bank. You pay back 215,000 cedis. Then there was another one involving Ghana Post again, a company called Sky Consult. Judgment debt alleged to have been obtained through fraud, and this was investigated by the sole commissioner. Ghana Post enters a contract with Sky Consult in 2005 to conduct something called an IMT. According to Sky Consult, after the businesses earned total revenue of 6.3 million cedis, Ghana Post took out the profit and decided not to pay them an outstanding amount of about 900,000. They then sued us in 2009 for the remaining balance, and we, however, had to then pay that and other coins. Then there's another one. So this is two involving Ghana Post. We've also spoken about one involving the University of Ghana breaking down somebody's land. There's one that I find quite interesting where, because of failure to pay the difference of an amount of money we got, we had to pay a whole lot of money. Okay. Now, that one is the MSEP Ghana Limited and Ministry of Youth and Sports. Now, I thought that was very, very sad, a sad day for Ghana. Ministry of Youth and Sports. So what happened? I'll just walk you through that one quickly. So we failed to settle a 5,000 cedi debt for 8 years. Right? How did it happen? The Ministry of Youth and Sports contracted a company called MSEP Ghana in the year 2000 to complete rehabilitation works on some tennis courts at the Accra Sports Stadium at the cost of 72,000 cedis. Now, the ministry paid them 67,000 cedis out of the amount in 2001, leaving a balance of just 5,000 cedis. 5,000 cedis. I'm sure my floor manager can pay that money for Ghana. 5,000 cedis. The people did the work at 72,000. We paid 67,000 in 2001, and we left out 5,000 cedis. Now look at what happened. The 5,000 cedi balance was left unpaid from the year 2001 to 2009. Now, when the ministry renegotiated and settled the payment, can you guess how much we paid? The 5,000 cedis had ballooned to 177,000 cedis. 5,000, no. 5,000 new, and this is 4 times, so new Ghana. It ballooned to 177,000. Now, the settlement followed a notice of intention to sue served by the complainant, which is MSEP Ghana, with the Attorney General. The Attorney General set up a committee to resolve the issue after consultation with the Ministry of Youth and Sports, because the ministry had no defense to put up regarding the failure to pay. Think about it. Somebody has worked for you, and he says, pay me 72,000. You pay the person 67,000. It's left with 5,000. And for 9 years, you don't pay. The 5,000 balloons to 177,000 because it's not your money. So here are some more examples. There's also the Peter Aban versus the Attorney General case, in which in 2003 we were made to pay over 260,000 cedis. Then there's the Kai Ghana Limited versus Ministry of Food and Agriculture. We terminated a 1,289 cedi contract awarded in 1984. And we failed to compensate a contractor for 24 years. Now, the contract was 1,289 Ghana cedis. Do you know how much we paid the contractor? After the 24 years, we paid 549,000, 500,000 cedis. These are, I'm not making this up. These are things that have happened over the past 20 years in Ghana. Okay, these are things that have happened. And don't forget the reasons. I want to remind you of the reasons in the report. Negligence, carelessness. Some of it is incompetence. Some of it is just political changeover and lack of continuity in governance. Let me just mention a couple more before we do some recommendations. There's one called Delta Foods. Delta Foods. We paid Delta Foods in the year 2000 9.1 million Ghana cedis. Why? Because we delayed in settling judgment debts incurred. 9.1 million Ghana cedis. And then there's also 1.4 million cedis in 2010. We paid to Henry Osei Dakwa versus Amu Godfred and 3 others and AG. Why? The AG's office in Kumasi failed to appear in court to defend the writ by the plaintiff, claiming losses from a legal and lawful demolition exercise. That cost us 1.4 million cedis. When you put all of this together, you discount it, and then you use the calculations the CPJ used. This is almost 2 billion cedis of monies paid. And all of this happened in Ghana. Now, we'll talk about what to do, but I just wanted to reiterate a couple of quick points. That, yes, the sole commissioner did his work in 2012, you would have thought that after 2012, judgment debts will reduce, right? Well, the quantum of judgment debts we've paid post-2012 is increasing. And from what I've shown you of the 3 cases, there are other cases. Finance Minister has already admitted we've paid $283 million since 2017. So the issue of judgment debt is not reducing. That's the problem. How do we deal with it? I think that's where we should focus the rest of the presentation. So we have a few recommendations, and some of the recommendations are in the report, but there are other recommendations that we need to bring out. I think that in Ghana, when the public is uninformed about something, our political elite get away with it. That's why we are showing you this. We want you to question your members of parliament. We want you to question your duty bearers by being informed. Imagine 33 Ghana cedis was the amount we were supposed to pay for a land. We didn't pay, and it ballooned to hundreds of millions of dollars. Clearly, we've messed up the state. So number one, the public must demand accountability. Number two, it's very clear judgment that both NDC and MPP are involved. So when it suits one group, they accuse the other group. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't accuse a political party, but it's very clear that it's become a systemic problem. I've shown you the balloons, I've shown you the colors, the blue, the greens. Now, we have 3 pending ones that if we are to pay, would probably be about 70% of what we paid for the past 20 years. So clearly, this doesn't have political color. There has to be some strong leadership from the Attorney General's department. Now, luckily, in our interview with him, he said, look, because of some of the problems that happened with this GPGC thing, the legal side of things takes the lead. And some of that is in our recommendation. The legal side of government is more proactive. We need more of that, right? We tried even having a Minister for National Procurement. It doesn't seem to have solved the problem. A lot of it is from the procurement challenges we face. So yes, Attorney General's department has to be stronger. Godfrey Dame has to be stronger, has to take a strong view. Yes, he's done some good things already. He's indicated to us in an interview that he tried to reduce. In fact, there was a case they had with a financial institution where he managed to stop a whole amount of money being paid. But that's just the beginning. If you face a systemic problem like judgment debts, he needs to strengthen his department, right? So here are some of the recommendations. Let's enforce strict compliance to the national procurement law. Let's ensure that qualified legal experts who understand the murky nature of contracting involving governments are engaged when committing to contractual obligations. We also need to involve key stakeholders before any government enters a contract with a private party on behalf of the state. Now, there's another recommendation that I think we should think about. When there's a change in government, you notice from the graph that a lot of the judgment debts come when there's a change in government. There has to be an interministerial or an inter-government, maybe whichever 2 parties come. They have to have a committee which reviews these payments, right? There should be a judgment debt management policy with an interministerial unit comprising different ministries. Provide guidelines, oversight, so that abrogation of contracts will be weighed properly. I think what we've seen is that because of the suspicion between the NDC and the MPP, a lot of international organizations and businesses, they play that card with us. They know the 2 parties don't trust each other, so they wait till there's a new government. The country is vulnerable. They make a claim. Maybe they are not in a position to get all the facts. And of course, handing over doesn't necessarily happen well, even though we have a transition act. So because of the suspicion between NDC and MPP, that loophole has led to the state spending. Imagine how much we could have done with 2 billion. 2.1 billion Ghana cedis. Imagine what you can do with 2.1 billion Ghana cedis. So the loophole between the 2 leading parties is not helping. Finally, the way we do our budgeting, our ministries, departments, and agencies must change. We think the finance ministry must take a lead here, right? And sometimes some of these bodies like the universities and these smaller government agencies government has to find a way of letting them fight their own fight, right? We must increase transparency and accountability. A democracy will not function if there's no accountability. But accountability must be demanded by the people. Staying aloof, feigning ignorance, or simply not caring will not help. Because I'm yet to see somebody being jailed for paying a judgment debt. Right? People have been jailed for many things. But judgment debts have cost us an arm and a leg as a country. Yet, we haven't had anybody seriously pay the price for causing us judgment debts. I think that it's time for change. Get a copy of this report. It's available on our website. It's just 57 pages. We've tried to break it down for you. In summary, judgment debt is a systemic problem with Ghana. Negligence, recklessness, incompetence, and sometimes what the account people call abro have led to us losing over 2 billion cedis. It has to stop, but it starts with you. Of course, you are not a duty bearer, but you have to start demanding accountability. You have to start demanding our members of parliament do a better job. We've been told they are going for a loan of 28 million cedis to buy cars. We'll discuss that on a different day. A lot of you want me to talk about that. We'll discuss that on a different day. But if you look at the amount of money, between January and March, we're going for $300 million in loans for January and June. Imagine if we had saved the state the monies we were going to pay in judgment debt. We wouldn't have gone for those loans. We have a big problem to solve. Hope you've learned something. Special thanks to the Center for Social Justice, Dr. Soji Tete and his team for putting this report together. Hope you've learned something. And let's come together to make Ghana work again. My name is Ben Alavre. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The Point of View is sponsored by Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it.